This morning I left my body consciously multiple times. I'm going to try and recount the experiences as best I can. Uh, they were a combination of being very conscious in the out-of-body state, and also some of the experiences were certainly less conscious. So I did the indirect technique for about 40 minutes. Um, and then I did Todd Akamisis's recent meditation and breathing in light, and then I went through that, and then I began swimming. Eventually, I lost consciousness here, and I appeared in some sort of city environment, and I could see the cities through this circular sort of porthole, and everything else was black. And as I was moving through the city, kind of seeing everything through this circular porthole, my awareness became increasingly, I brought more and more awareness to the point at which this all disappeared, and I felt the astral wind, and I began being pulled down. I was pulled down for not too long of a period of time, but as I was being pulled down via the astral wind, I began feeling like I was traveling through water, and then so I was moving down, and then the downward motion stopped, and I began kind of going around in a circle, with my back facing outward and my front facing the central point of the circle. And then these sea creatures came along, and I could see dolphins, and then other sorts of sea mammals. I ended up like sitting on one of these sea mammals and riding the sea mammal for a while. And then the ocean disappeared, and this sort of natural environment appeared, and the sea mammal had grabbed my hand and was chomping down on my left hand, and it was very painful. I remember it being very painful, and then the fear entered, and I'm like, oh no, maybe the sea mammal's going to chop off. Of course, I'm in the out-of-body state. Nothing can really hurt me. So as I was entering fear, I began losing awareness. The sea mammal turned into like a large cat, and then I began riding the cat. And I think I was losing awareness as I was riding the cat, and then I was returned to my body. And then I exited my body again. I exited my body multiple times. This next time I exited my body, I kind of had the intention, of course, a degree of awareness returned when I entered my body, and then I exited my body, and I still had more awareness than I did when I at the end of the last experience. And I kind of had the intention to return to some real sort of time zone, and I ended up in this room with a bunch of girls in it, and I was moving around, and I was looking around the room, and the room looked so real. And then I began opening a door, and I was like, am I really opening this door in real life? Because it feels like I'm peering in on these people who are having a party in their room, and I'm just kind of like, I'm ghost. I'm in the etheric, the substructure of matter. But I don't think that's what was happening. I think I was on the astral somewhere, and at first I was, because at first they didn't see me, and then I began closing the door, and they could see the door opening and closing, and then very shortly after they said, "Oh, there you are." So I was kind of in that room for a bit, and then I left. So I guess I was on some sort of astral learning center. That's what it felt like. I began walking around this astral learning center after exiting the room. My awareness wasn't terribly high. I mean, it felt real. It felt like I was there, but my awareness wasn't all that high. And so I began walking around. I began seeing guys and girls in this, what seemed like an astral learning center. There were a lot of people there. And then my awareness began fading, and I ended up back in my body. Again, this happened multiple times. I'm not going to recount the other experiences because I'm not quite. I had after that experience, I had a number of false awakenings, um, and so I didn't. As I was having these false awakenings, I returned to my body, and then I'd have a false awakening. It was very strange. I kind of lost track of where I was, where my real body was, and I began thinking my real body was in this other bedroom on the astral. Um, so the false awakenings were kind of interesting because due to those false awakenings, I completely lost track of where the real physical world, where I am right now. And I was thinking I was waking up in, I was waking up in another bed somewhere else, and then leaving my body from that bed too. Uh, Very strange, but all very interesting. Again, it's kind of hard to recount some of the experiences because my awareness wasn't that deep. But that's all for today. Yesterday, again, I had ashwagandha uh, at lunch, and any other significant supplements? No. All right, that's all for this journal entry.